Breaking Dawn Part 2 exploded in theaters this weekend, making over $130 million at the box office. Part of the buzz for the film was about a twist in the movie that we will be discussing in just a moment, so stop right now if you don't want to know anything about this much talked about moment in the last film in the Twilight Saga. Joining us to discuss the Breaking Dawn spoiler moment from MSN is Parallel Universe Features writer Don Kay, and from Movie Line, executive editor Jen Yamato. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Now, Jen, I know you know the books very intimately, so talk about sort of what they did with the movie versus what was in the book and how you feel about sort of those changes, or how much similarity.
If we're talking about the spoiler moment, when you read the novel Breaking Dawn, you probably thought to yourself, gentlemen, I'm sure you read the books, you thought to yourself, this is not filmable because it's essentially an X-Men The Last Stand style standoff with no action in the book. So what the movie does is it adds in something that's not in the books, that injects it with the action sequence, which gives it momentum. I think it's a real improvement.
Mm-hmm. Now, Don, I know you weren't as much of a fan of this, and you have not read the books, is that correct?
I've not read the books, and I've gone into these movies strictly as a moviegoer, and with no agenda either way about whether I like the books or not, or how I feel about the Twihards or anything like that. And I went into this thinking, watching this scene unfold, I thought to myself, finally we have some real stakes and some real consequences here. During this battle scene, people are dying. Major characters are getting killed. Members of the Cullen family, members of the Volturi, members of the Wolf Pack. People are dying, and we finally have real stakes and real consequences to what's going on. And then we find out it's all a fake out. None of this has really happened. No one has died. Nothing of consequence has actually gone on, and they all just kind of turn around and go home. And again, you know, maybe it's an improvement on the book, it sounds like it is, but from a dramatic point of view, after watching such a build-up over these 5 movies, it felt like an incredible cheat to the audience to just say, nah, it's all fake, nothing to see here, folks, everybody's okay.
Well, I kind of like the fact, actually, that it was sort of a fake out, and at the same time it did have this sort of elevated stakes thing, sort of element to it. Jen, what did you think, and what did you think sort of fans, how they've been sort of reacting to that decision? Because it is something that, you know, some people have thought is a cheat, and some people thought was like a great payoff to the series.
I find that the people who think it's a cheat are the non-fans, the people who did not read the books, who are not as invested or familiar with the universe and these characters, and the fans love it. I watched it at the premiere with an audience full of fans in attendance, and they screamed with every new character who died and whose head got chopped off because they felt it emotionally. It really tapped into the fan relationship with these characters that they've followed for years now. And the fake out was also the biggest relief. You know, at first there were screams of horror, and it was pure horror, and which is great. It elicited this very pure emotional reaction to fans. And then it gives the fans back the characters they love. You know, nobody actually wants to see these beloved characters die when they don't die in the books.
Mm-hmm. Now, Don, what do you think about sort of you having sort of watched these films, taken them as films? How do you sort of look at it in the context of the larger series? Do you think that is sort of like a cheat for what this has been moving towards, or do you feel like, even maybe not liking it, you feel like it kind of is a worthwhile way to sort of wrap everything up?
No, I think it's a cheat, again, as a non-fan of the books, because the movies stories should have some sort of dramatic stakes and consequences. I mean, if you look at the Harry Potter books, you know, Dumbledore dies. If you look at, you know, and we're talking about these big franchises,
sure.
You know, Lord of the Rings, people die along the way. You know, sometimes people come back to, it's fantasy. But in this case, it just seems like nothing happens at all. Everybody is safe and sound at the end. And the movies have had this same sort of thing going on where over the course of these 5 movies, nothing of consequence has really happened. Certainly over the course of the first 3. You know, finally Bella got turned into a vampire, but even then there was no real examination of what that meant to her. She just sort of got up and went as a vampire. And that's why I just felt like after dragging us through this for such a long time with really no dramatic momentum at all in this series, finally we got to a place where there is some sort of payoff where people have to make a sacrifice of some sort. that's the essence of just good storytelling and good drama. There are changes in people's lives. People do make sacrifices. Things of consequence happen to people. But not in the Twilight Saga.
That's so not true about this particular instance. The finale, the battle that doesn't actually happen in the books, but which you see on film, it actually adds more character development to a lot of supporting characters that don't actually get a lot of screen time in this series. For example, I don't know if you recognize the wolves who sacrificed themselves and died in the battle, but fans know, the fans know that this is Leah who just saw her brother get killed and is now sacrificing herself for a vampire family mother, the matriarch of the vampire family, when they're actually natural enemies. So like the fans who live with this story and this universe inside of them, who know what it means to see sidelong glances exchanged between two characters who have a history together, it means a lot more to them, and it adds a lot more for the fans. And the fans are really the people who this entire franchise was made for.
Sure. Well, we have to wrap up, but I think we've at least decided that it is the best and worst thing that's ever happened to the Twilight series. Thank you guys so much for coming in. And Breaking Dawn Part 2 is in theaters right now, and for the latest Hollywood headlines, go to celebuzz.com.